Greetings and salutations, viewers and listeners. Welcome to another episode of Game Break. I am Charles, coming to you today with another episode of Everlasting Summer. I really don't know what to make of this story anymore. It's really going weird, but last time round we faffed about for basically the whole episode, and then we're eventually tasked with getting ingredients for a cake to celebrate the fact that Shurik came back after he smacked us in the face. So now, this episode, I guess we get to find those ingredients, and who knows what other shenanigans we'll get up to. So how about we just roll right into this, shall we? Oh yay, we get to go to the places and do the things. So, sugar, probably from Electronique, infirmary from the weird nurse, and library from... I forget the name of the girl. Well, let's take our chances here and move our way down. If every other place on the cake ingredient list made at least some sense to me, then flour from the library made none. I thought hard about who would put it in the library and why, but couldn't find any sane explanation after all. Given Zenya's harsh nature, I'd better knock first. Open! Zenya peered at me closely from behind her glasses. What do you want? Don't think anything weird, but I didn't want to look like an idiot and decided to explain things carefully. I need some flour. Olga said that it's here. I understand that it sounds strange to keep the flour in the library, but I was sent to you, and it's needed for a cake to celebrate Shurik's rescue. Yes, I have the flour. What's so strange about it? Zenya replied with surprise. At that second, I felt like I'd been hit on the head with a heavy weight and lost the ability to understand anything at all. Flour in the library. Sure, what's so strange about it? We're in Wonderland. I am Alice. Now I'm going to eat that magic mushroom and I'll be back home. Hey! Yeah. I was daydreaming. Wait here. I'll be right back. She disappeared behind the bookshelves while I folded my hands and started waiting. A moment later, the sound of a trapdoor groaning on its hinges reached me. Hey, you need some help? I inquired loudly. I'll deal with it. Zenya barked out at me. She seems to be in the basement, so I'll have to wait a little. Okie dokie. A few minutes passed, but Zenya still hadn't returned. I was starting to get worried when the door was suddenly flung open and Elisa came into the library. Oh boy. She looked surprised too, seeing me there. What are you doing here? Am I not allowed to be here? I said rudely to her. Elisa was clearly a bit overwhelmed. What do I care? She snorted and headed to Zenya's table. And why are you here then? Elisa measured me with her eyes carefully and almost opened the mouth to say something, but then seemed to change her mind and turned away, hiding her hands behind her back. Returning a book. I blurted the first thing off the top of my head. It's none of your business, she replied with a hint of hesitation. That is the first time I've seen that face on her. That's a bit weird. What book is it? Elisa was silent. Oh, come on. Let me see it. I wonder what Miss High Voltage Keep Away reads. It's none of your business. Her voice was even less confident. Okay. I don't insist or anything. In fact, I was quite interested to find out what Elisa was reading. Moreover, I was quite amused to see a book in her hands. TV, movies, or a computer, if one were available here. All these things seemed to be much more appropriate entertainment for a girl like her. But she had a book instead. Why would I need to stay on guard? I'm not the one on the defensive. That makes me nervous. We've been playing it safe here and there, trying to just stay and fit in. Let's rile things up. Because we haven't been getting answers otherwise. We need to change up our tactics a bit. My curiosity won. I struck at the right moment when Elisa was looking away from me and snatched the book. Ouch! She screamed. Ooh, death face. In the following second, her face took on such an expression that it made me question my decision. If I'm about to die, at least I will know what for. I held a copy of Gone with the Wind in my hands. That was the same book that Lena was reading that evening on a bench. I was so astonished that I completely forgot about my imminent death. Is it interesting? Yeah, Elisa answered without any enthusiasm, blushing. Okay then. I handed the book back to her. Elisa threw it on the table and left the library quickly without looking at me. So human things aren't alien to her. Excuse me. In the end, she too is a girl. After a quick review of everything that just happened, I concluded that there was actually nothing that strange. What? It's a good book. It's a fun read. Finally, Xenia's deep groan rang out, reaching each and every corner of the library. Grab it! I passed by the bookshelves and beheld the perspiring librarian sitting near the trap door leading into the basement with a small sack next to her. Well, they might have some sort of a storehouse down there. Thanks. I took the sack and left the library. Thank goodness it wasn't too heavy, so I carried it down to Olga's cabin without too much effort. Alright, 1 down, 2 to go. Oof. No, we gotta rile things up. Let's take things head on. Go to the infirmary with the weird nurse. I feel like I've visited the infirmary too often recently. But what can I do? That's how things pan out. I sighed and knocked on the door. Come in, the nurse said with a trace of a sing-song accent. Good afternoon. Olga has sent me to get some... I hesitated slightly. Yeast. Ah, sure. She gave me a broad smile. It's just that I don't have any. Pioneer. How so? She said that... Well, I had some, but now there's none left. I didn't even bother asking why she had it in the first place. Well, don't you worry. You can have some aspirin, for example. That could be of some use to me, actually. Where do I get it, then? I sighed. Take this. She opened the drawer and pulled out some kind of bottle. I took a closer look. It was Ostankisco beer. That's, interesting interpretation for aspirin. What's the matter? Beer is also a fermented product. She gave me a deep gaze. Nobody will even notice. She had a point, but everything just looked so grotesque to me that I couldn't find anything to say. Are you sure? Absolutely. Okay then. The bottle clearly wouldn't fit into the pocket of my shorts. Well, thanks, I mumbled shyly, leaving the infirmary. Well, beer certainly could replace yeast. Even my limited knowledge of chemistry and biology was enough to accept this. But generally, walking around with this bottle in my hands looks like a silly idea to me, so I decided to bring it to Olga's cabin and hide it there. But I had to reach it somehow without anybody noticing the beer. Really? I hid the bottle under my shirt. Yep. And everything would have been fine, but Slavia called out to me at the square. Actually, she sprang out from behind me so suddenly that even I gave a start. How's it going? What exactly? Your search for ingredients. Ah, so you know already. Yes, I do. Slavia smiled. It's going all right, I answered, trying not to give away my unrest. And what do you have there? She pointed at the bottle sticking out from under my shirt. Ah, this. She got me. It's, nothing. I blushed with a silly giggle. It's, time to go. I was almost running, leaving the square with a puzzled Slavia behind. It's great that she is one of those people who don't ask unnecessary questions. But there are people in this camp who like nothing better than to poke their noses into other people's business. Passing the pioneers' cabins, I stumbled upon Ulyana. Oh, what are you hiding there? She gave me one of her cheeky looks. I thought there was no point in denying anything, so I replied in a provocative manner. It's none of your business. I'm a cipher officer bearing a message to headquarters. That's certainly a big message. Gross. I was carrying the bottle at waist height, so I was slightly embarrassed. You want some help? I'll deal with it on my own. I walked past her confidently and proceeded on my way. To my surprise, she didn't say anything, nor try to pursue me. There was nobody at Olga's cabin, so I successfully managed to stuff the bottle under my bed. 2 down, 1 to go. Once I got outside, I sighed with relief. Really, I couldn't believe that I would ever worry that much about a single bottle of beer. Like I was back in high school. It's a good thing it's safe now. Even if somebody finds it, I'll claim that it's not mine. I could always think up of a suitable excuse for my enormous experience. Well, only thing left is a clubhouse, so... Feels like I've gone through more things today than all the previous days combined. Thus, approaching the clubhouse, I'd even forgotten to think about how awkward it must be to look for sugar there. The fuck? What you doing? Shurik and Electronic were enthusiastically building something. They were so busy that they didn't even notice me. I looked closely. It was some kind of a robot, or at least the body of one. Moreover, this robot was female, and had animal ears. I didn't want to make up theories about purpose of such a device for luminaries of Camp Cybernetics. Even though the design looked practically workable, I had my doubts about this robot ever being able to conquer Earth, or at least being able to do anything on its own. But they seemed to be enjoying the process more than the end result itself. And that was something we shared, even though I didn't want to admit it. On the other hand, they weren't afraid of possible failure, criticism, or jokes. They were working towards their goal without paying attention to others, who would call it unrealistic, or even absurd. Oh, it looks like I'm truly comparing them to luminaries of the sciences. Hey, guys. I greeted them uncertainly. Oh, Semyon, come in. We're always glad to see you. I was actually already inside. You know, sorry for what happened yesterday. I barely remember anything, but, well... Never mind. It's okay. And what brings you to our humble abode? Electronic looked at me slyly. Sometimes I feel that he makes such a face when he knows something about the other person. Something he can use in a right moment. Sugar. I need sugar. An image from an ancient video game suddenly came into my mind, where some kind of unit like a builder or something cried out with all of its 5-pixel stature, "Gold! We need more gold!" We got it, said Electronic calmly. Why would you want it? I felt that I shouldn't explain to Shurik that they want to bake a cake for him. I shouldn't spoil the surprise. I don't know. Olga told me to get some. Okay, hang on. Electronic disappeared behind the door into the next room. And why do you have sugar here? Why not in the canteen? When the food truck came last time, it was the last thing to unload. And given that our building is the closest one to the entrance, they decided to leave it here to save some effort. That's reasonable, isn't it? The door opened, revealing Electronic hauling a huge bag behind him. I really don't know what the size of the cake will be, but that was obviously too much sugar. Well, thanks, but I don't need it all. But where would we put it? Electronic gave me a surprised look. We don't have a place for it. You asked for sugar, so take it. It seems that the previous smile of his wasn't there without reason. Maybe you'll help me then? It's not that far to carry. We're busy. He pointed his hand to the robot. I gazed at Shurik. He owed me, after all. He hesitated and then looked away in shame. I sighed, took the bag, and headed to the door. Thanks anyway, I said at parting, exerting myself. But I didn't make it too far. Just after a mere 20 meters, I had to put the bag down to have a rest. I had no idea how much it weighed, but it felt like more than 20 kilos. On the one hand, it was just 200 meters to the canteen. On the other hand, even such a distance with this payload on my shoulder, or alternatively in my hands, or on my legs, or under my arm, or even on my head, looked impossible for me to cover. And as I resigned myself to move in minor sprints with prolonged pauses between them, so I could get there by night at least, I heard a voice behind me.
Maybe I could help you?
I saw Lena in front of me. I don't think you can. It was one of those moments when I felt painfully how dramatically I was out of shape.
I can bring a handcart.
A handcart. Why didn't I think of that myself? Yes, that would be great.
Wait here, I'll be right back.
She smiled and ran in the direction of the square. What would I do without her? It's good that Lena isn't always that shy and can take the initiative sometimes. I started to think. She seemed quite unusual now, with no trace of shyness on her face and actually the complete opposite, smiles and confidence. The offer of help wasn't something extraordinary by itself, but getting it from Lena. A few minutes later, she came back with a smallish handcart. I put the bag down on it. Thanks.
Don't mention it.
She blushed and looked down. Oh, the Lena we all know is back.
So, I'll go then.
Yes, see you. And thank you again. I shouted after her. Sometimes I felt like there are two different people living inside of Lena. But the second one, confident, happy, and sometimes even bold, only appears when she talks to me. Or am I making things up again? I thought that it would be better if I get all the ingredients at once, so I headed to Olga's cabin with the handcart. Finally, it seems that everything had been collected. I took the handcart with sugar outside and put the sack with the flour in it, followed by the 2 baskets of strawberries that somehow fitted in between. And the beer was hidden under my shirt, just in case. The day was coming to its end, so I had to hurry, as cake itself would need some time to bake. Of course, I'd rather enjoy lying down, closing my eyes and getting a decent sleep, but I just couldn't let Olga down. Indeed, after all the trouble I'd gone to, I even felt personally responsible for the success of this event. Coming to the square, I stopped for a moment to catch my breath. It wasn't that the cart was heavy. It ran smoothly without any noticeable effort required. It was just that any physical exertion caused pain to me now. Both a physical and mental one. I sat down on the bench and closed my eyes for a moment. What's that? I didn't really give a damn who it was. Probably just a fellow pioneer girl taking an interest in an unfamiliar companion in distress. What are you talking about? I asked her tiredly. She didn't reply. Those are the ingredients for a cake. Do you like cakes? I don't know. What? You've never tried cake? I don't know. Obviously, the girl didn't get what I was talking about, but it didn't surprise me at that moment. I really wasn't interested in the conversation. I was so tired that I had zero intention of classifying external distractions and tagging them as either common or uncommon. I see. Come down to the canteen later and have a bite. Really? Really?
And what are they made of?
What? I asked indifferently.
These cakes.
Well, some flour, some sugar, various fillings. Now that's a strange question. Doesn't she know what cakes are made of?
And you have it all here.
Yeah, sort of.
And sugar.
And sugar.
Could you lend me a little?
What for? Thought it was over the top. Sudden gust of wind made me grab the card instinctively and open my eyes. However, nobody was there. Am I daydreaming? I noticed, though, that the sugar sack was untied, and a small heap of it had poured out. Could it be that she was scared by the wind and ran away? Having fixed the sack, I got up from the bench and continued on my challenging strawberry way. There wasn't a single person near the canteen. No wonder. Dinner was still an hour away. I brought the handcart to the rear exit and handed the foodstuffs to the camp cook. She must have already been told what to do with them, as she gave me such an unpleasant look. I'm not sure how long it takes to bake a cake, but it seems she had to hurry. I just wanted to relax for the remaining time up until dinner. In short, I was so tired that I just sat on the steps and waited. My eyes closed themselves. I guess I got so tired throughout the day that I didn't even notice how someone came up to me until they patted me on the shoulder. And we are going to have to leave that there for this episode. So hey, we actually found all the ingredients for this cake. Yay! Do we get to have our cake and eat it too, or are we gonna get sidetracked even more next episode? I want to know what happens. What the heck is going on? Why are things the way they are? I'm really hoping that we get some answers, but I have a feeling it's still gonna be another few episodes before things start hopefully making sense and actually starting to tie together, but we'll have to wait and see. Thank you all for joining me for yet another episode of Everlasting Summer. As always, hit that subscribe button, click that thumbs up, post in the comments what you think of this ridiculous story so far and where you think it may go from here. And until next time, go have some fun, go play some video games, go make a story. Here. I understand that it sounds strange to keep the flower in the library, but I was sent to you, and it's needed for a cake to celebrate Shurik's rescue.
Yes, I have the flower. What's so strange about it?
Xenia replied with surprise. At that second, I felt like I'd been hit on the head with a heavy weight, and lost the ability to understand anything at all. Flower in the library. Sure, what's so strange about it? We're in Wonderland. I am Alice. Now I'm going to eat that magic mushroom and I'll be back home.
Hey!
Yeah. Some sense to me that flower from the library made none. I thought hard about who would put it in the library and why, but couldn't find any sane explanation after all. Given Xenia's harsh nature, I'd better knock first.
Open!
Xenia peered at me closely from behind her glasses.
What do you want?
Don't think anything weird, but I need... I didn't want to look like an idiot and decided to explain things carefully. I need some flour. Olga said that I was daydreaming.
Wait here, I'll be right back.
She disappeared behind the bookshelves while I folded my hands and started waiting. A moment later, the sound of a trapdoor groaning on its hinges reached me. "Hey, you need some help?" I inquired loudly.
I'll deal with it.
Xenia barked out at me. She seems to be in the basement, so I'll have to wait a little. Okie dokie. A few minutes passed, but Xenia still hadn't returned. I was starting to get worried when the door was suddenly flung open and Elisa came into the Greetings and salutations, viewers and listeners. Welcome to another episode of Game Break. I am Charles, coming to you today with another episode of Everlasting Summer. I really don't know what to make of this story anymore. It's really going weird, but last time round we faffed about for basically the whole episode, and then we're eventually tasked with getting ingredients for a cake to celebrate the fact that Shurik came back after he smacked us in the face. So now, this episode, I guess we get to find those ingredients, and who knows what other shenanigans we'll get up to. So how about we just roll right into this, shall we? Oh yay, we get to go to the places and do the things. So, sugar, probably from Electronique, infirmary from the weird nurse, and library from, I forget the name of the girl. Well, let's take our chances here and move our way down. If every other place on the cake ingredient list made at least